Well, Parliament Square really is starting to fill up now. The police, the military taking their places here, and huge crowds as well, lining Whitehall as far as the eye can see. I'm joined by two people from the Royal Variety Charity who are very, very keen to be here today, Peter Hinton and Angelica Ludicesi. Just explain what it's like being here for you right now.
Oh, it's quite profound, so. Up until now, it had been quite quiet, and now the bands are moving around, and there was just the crowds, the thousands of crowds just here suddenly erupted into spontaneous applause as the band went past.
It is an extraordinary atmosphere.
It's surreal. I know exactly where I'm standing in terms of London, but I feel like I'm in a totally different place. It's very surreal.
Why was it so important for you both to be here from the Royal Variety Charity? The Queen was patron, wasn't she, for her entire reign?
She was indeed, yes. So the Royal Variety Charity put on the annual Royal Variety performance each year. That's our big fundraiser. And for the last 70 years, Her late Majesty has been our patron. She attended 39 performances between 1945 and 2012. And she saw, from Laurel and Hardy all the way through to Lady Gaga.
And the money raised from the Royal Variety, that helps fund the care home that you both work in, and that is for people who've worked in the entertainment industry, in front of the camera, behind it. What has the past week been like for them?
It's been challenging. Many have met the Queen several times in their career, and many are living with dementia, so it's been a case of them used to them over and over again, and then going through the raw emotions with them, whether it's crying or telling you the story of when they met the Queen. So it's been challenging but beautiful at the same time, because they just share their stories and bring out where they were, and yeah, it's lovely.
And then you're holding the flowers that you brought from them. What are you going to do with them now?
So they wanted me to put it by the Queen. So this is from our garden. The residents picked it up and put it together, and they wanted me to leave it by our Queen. So I leave as close as I'm allowed to get to.
Well, thank you both very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Good luck with the marathon.
Well, as we've been hearing the guests there with Sophie, some world leaders have started to gather at Westminster Abbey. They've been arriving, so let's join Fergal again.
And waiting at the Great West Door, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, the Archbishop of York, Stephen Cottrell, the Dean of Westminster, David Hall, along with the High Steward and High Bailiff of Westminster. The Archbishop of Canterbury and the Archbishop of York both visited the queue for the Queen's lying in state, to meet with people queuing and to offer their thanks and to join them in prayer, a sign of their dedication and respect for the Queen. The Archbishop of York said he'd sung the first verse of Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven, with 3 women who were part of the queue. It was wonderful, he said. And this is a gathering unlike any seen in the modern history of the United Kingdom. But amidst the seating of the world leaders and members of the Commonwealth, it's important to remember this is, above all, a religious service of profound importance to the Queen's faith. A funeral in which the great themes of her life will be reflected: service, duty, constancy, fidelity to that faith. On the organ, we're listening to Peter Holder, sub-organist of the Abbey. And now, more representatives of foreign governments and of territories where the Queen, through the Commonwealth, was head of state. The music today will include pieces specially commissioned for the service, as well as hymns sung at both the Queen's coronation and at her wedding service at Westminster Abbey. To mark her 90th birthday, the Queen listed her 10 favourite pieces of music. One of the hymns was "The Lord's My Shepherd," which will feature in the service today. And now we see more representatives of foreign governments, among them the President of Tanzania, the first woman president of that country, a member of the Commonwealth. Also the President of Singapore. There is, of course, much rank, much high presence, but this is an equalizing occasion. Now, approaching the gate are the ladies of the Queen's household. Among them, Lady Susan Hussey, who was close to the Queen, godmother to Prince William, and during the pandemic was the only person who was part of what was called HMS Bubble. And she attended the funeral of Prince Philip alone with the Queen. President Macron of France, who said he had come to, as he put it, partage, to share the pain of the people of Britain. The Queen's fondness for France was evident in the fact that she spoke French, having learnt it as a child. And now the President of the United States, Joseph Biden, and his wife, Jill Biden. The Queen last met the Bidens in June last year when she invited them for afternoon tea at Windsor. The Queen first met a serving US President, Harry S. Truman, as Princess Elizabeth in 1951. She met 13 of the last 14 US leaders during her reign, all except for Lyndon B. Johnson. And now we see the beginning of the procession, which will include holders of the Victoria Cross, the George Cross, and the Orders of Chivalry. And they're entering in procession from under the croft via the west cloister door. Leading the procession there, Captain David Lilly, whom I met in Iraq in 2003 during the conflict there. Seven Victoria Cross and 10 George Cross medal recipients have been invited to the service, including 1 from New Zealand and 4 from Australia. Johnson Bahari, who was decorated for his bravery during the Iraq War. A procession of the brave.
And outside in Parliament Square, we can see that the Tri-Service Guard of Honour is now in place, facing New Palace Yard, facing the Elizabeth Tower, and ready for that procession to begin. The route from the Hall along Broad Sanctuary to Westminster Abbey, lined by personnel from the Royal Navy and the Royal Marines. And of course, we've been focusing in recent days on Westminster Hall. There it is, the most ancient part of the Palace of Westminster, dating from around 1097. And during its long history, it's been all kinds of things. It's been a courthouse, it's been a market, it's been a dining room. Well, it's still there. It's a vast space, great sense of history. It's drum majors doing their work immaculately as usual. And just across from them there, facing Parliament, the Guard of Honour, involving the Army and Navy and Air Force, and the Royal Marines Band, also there to accompany the Tri-Service Guard of Honour. The bearer party, that's the party that will